I was actually a participant in the panel in 2012 at the 4th annual wellness program, so I am just excited. I thank Debbie Williams and the Alzheimer's Association for inviting me, and I'm just proud to be amongst all of you caregivers, because I think you guys are the real heroes of this disease, so I just want to give you a round of applause. So as the moderator said, I've been working for Kaiser for 28 years. I've been running our dementia caregiver support group. A little better. Can you hear me back there? Is that better? Okay. You see, I'm not used to this. Okay. I've been running our dementia caregiver support group for the last 25 years. I used to tell people that I started when I was 2, but these gray hairs and these wrinkles and my teenage kids, I can't get away with that lie anymore. But I am here to talk about taking care of the caregiver. How many of you ever feel like you were being taken care of? Oh, no hands at all, just one, okay. Thank you to your family for doing that. In my support group, I repeatedly talk about how you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of your loved ones. How many of you have ever traveled by plane? Okay. So all of you know that you've never been on a plane where you haven't heard the story. If there's an emergency and the oxygen mask drops, you must put it on yourself before you help a child or a loved one. Everybody heard that story. So in the caregiving world, oxygen is doing whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. We need oxygen to breathe. So we have to take care of ourselves in order to keep caregiving. So I want, hopefully all of you by the end of this day, to learn some different techniques on how you can take care of yourself so you can really stay in this race. You shouldn't wait until an emergency or a crisis happens before you think about ways to start taking care of yourself. Because usually those emergencies are your own health becomes compromised, or something happens where you have to urgently leave to take care of another relative in another state, but you can't because you have your loved one here that you haven't planned for or made a plan B or plan C for. So hopefully by the end of the day you'll learn some techniques on how to do that. So before I talk to you about how you take care of yourself, I want to share some statistics about why you have to take care of yourself. So I'm going to read this just so I don't make any mistakes. There is a significant health risk in caregiving that you just can't ignore. There have been study after study that shows that caregiving compromises your health. How many of you, if you feel comfortable, you don't have to raise your hands if you don't, feel like you have health issues of your own? And how many of those hands really can honestly say that you stay on top of your health, that you see your doctor regularly while you're doing this caregiving? So definitely a lot less than the first number that went up. How many of you are caring for a parent or a senior? Okay, so for all of you, studies show that you have a higher risk of chronic illness and depression. Everybody's like, yeah, that's me. That's me. Studies show that an estimated 46 to 59% of caregivers are clinically depressed. So that's just not feeling sad or hopeless. Clinical depression is a real serious health risk that you have to address. And you can't just address it by saying, pull up your bootstraps. Sometimes you need to seek professional help. How many of you are taking care of a spouse or a partner? Not many. Okay. None of you seniors are taking care of another loved one? Just okay. So for you, I will tell you that if you are a senior caring for a spouse and are experiencing emotional or mental strain, you have a significantly higher risk of illness and death. That is 63% higher than those people your same age who are not caregivers. Yeah, that's a really scary number. Family caregivers also have a higher risk of alcohol abuse, of drug abuse, and smoking. So as you can see, it's tough. Like I said, many caregivers don't see their own doctors. They feel like, I don't have the time. Or they're so overwhelmed with everything that they're doing, they may have an appointment and they forget about it. How many of you have been there? There's also a statistic that estimates that by 2020, that's only 4 years away, The well-being of over 80 million Americans will be affected by the burdens of caregiving. How many caregivers here have ever felt overwhelmed at times? Yeah, I think all of us just in life feels overwhelmed at times, so that probably wasn't a very smart question to ask. But despite these statistics, I hear from many caregivers who admit, I don't take care of myself. That I just have too much going on, I really don't take care of myself. In your seats, and I heard that a few people in the back may not have gotten it, but there's a caregiver burnout questionnaire. Did everybody see that? If you could just take a minute, it's really quick, a minute or two to fill that out. If you don't have it, we'll make sure. Let's see, there's some over here that I can pass out. Okay. Can everybody or anybody just share what your score is? 6. Anybody else? What?
5 out of
5?
5.
Okay. 16. I don't think there was 16 questions on there. 10. Somebody had 10? Yes. 8. Anybody else?
9.
9. I might have to go give you a hug. Anybody else? Everybody else don't want to say what they got, huh? 10. Okay. 2? Awesome. Not last year. Oh, so you made some changes. Awesome. Good. Okay, so if you scored 3 to 5, you are at risk of experiencing caregiver burnout as your loved one's needs increase. So you may be doing okay now, but as their needs get more and more, you're at a higher risk. If you scored 6 or more, you are likely experiencing burnout. So sometimes, sorry, sometimes, no, it's not working. Try it. Can you hear me back there? Okay, good. So I should just stay in one place. Okay. So many caregivers actually don't even realize that they're becoming burned out until they either become sick or they get a rest. I actually have one of my support group participants who won a week's vacation in Hawaii. Yeah. Didn't have to pay for it, all expense paid trip. She was so excited. She planned for it for about a month. She organized her family, hired some backup caregivers, went on a trip. When she came back, she told me she slept for the first 4 days. That she only got up to eat, and she slept for the first 4 days. I didn't have the nerve to ask her if she showered, but yeah. So, can you imagine going away to Hawaii and sleeping half the trip because you're so tired? She didn't even realize how tired she was until she just wasn't doing it, and she had to stop. And when she stopped, she crashed. So she, of course, was very upset that she had spent half the time sleeping, but it made her realize that, I have to do something different because I can't keep living like this. And so she was able to make some changes, which it sounds like you were able to do too, so I'm very proud of you for that. So you may be feeling stressed and overwhelmed and feel that you don't know how to make changes, but by applying self-practices to your own life, you can really become a healthier caregiver. Because that's what it's all about, really taking care of yourself so that you can continue to be there for your loved ones. Because, the reality is, if you're not there, some of our loved ones don't have any other options. You have to really think about, if something happened to me, what would happen to them? A lot of us caregivers, adamantly say, I will never place my loved one. We don't want to do it, we wouldn't want to have to do it, but you have to think about those things or prepare for other options in case something happens to you that you're not there to do what you're continuing to do. So there's a lot of literature on self-care practices. I included some information in your package as well. The Alzheimer's Association, Family and Caregiver Alliance, so many other agencies they have a incredible amount of information for caregivers. So I would encourage you to go to those websites. Even if you just Google dementia caregivers, you'll find just a ton of resources to just kind of educate yourself about this disease. So many years ago, I read a book called Take Your Oxygen First. Has anybody read that book? So it's by Lisa Gibbons. I want to say she was an actress or a spokesperson. Okay, really great book. Talked about her mom was the one who had Alzheimer's. So if you can pick up that book, it's actually 2009 maybe, so it's not new, but the information in the book is really good. And she talked about the 3 E's, and that stands for education, empowerment, and energy. So in my group, I don't necessarily label the 3 E's in terms of how I speak about it, but I definitely teach those practices and how you as caregivers can really change things around for you. So when talking about education, obviously what it does is increases your knowledge about the disease. You learn better ways to manage your loved one's care and about the need to nurture your own physical, emotional, and spiritual health. I mean, some of us, either without God or without a higher power, we don't know how we would get through this. And you as loved ones, as caregivers, sometimes you feel like this is outside of me, that I don't even know if I would have the strength to do this if I didn't have the support of friends or spiritual support or some kind of yoga practice that you may take advantage of. Your participation in this forum is a start for education. Reading about dementia, participating in support groups. How many people actually go to support groups? Not many. Okay, so I'm going to put a plug in for mine. So it meets at Kaiser.
Which Kaiser?
It's during the day, so sometimes caregivers say, well, I work during the day, I can't make that. Kaiser Oakland, I'm sorry.
Do you have to be a Kaiser member?
You do not, actually. It's actually a free class. There's no registration process, but even if it's not my group that you come to, the Alzheimer's Association has a list of support groups on their website that in most cities at different times. So take advantage of a support group. I hear many people say, God, I don't want to go to a support group. I don't want to hear, how other people, this sad story about how other people were dealing with it. Yes.
Do most Kaisers have the support group?
Not all Kaisers have the support group, no.
I live on the other side, a little apart.
Okay. You could try the social work department, they would know for sure. But if you don't go to the Kaiser support group, find one in your community. Many of the senior centers have one. Yes. My group meets, so there's different times. I meet on the second Tuesday of the month from 10:30 to 12. And that session is for all caregivers. So it's where we talk about a specific topic. I have a calendar for the year. I should have brought those, but I didn't. A calendar for the year of all the specific topics. And then on the 4th Thursday is for spouse caregivers. Same time, 10:30 to 12. It meets in the Fabiola building, on the ground floor. And then the 4th Thursday is for adult children and other caregivers who are taking care of someone with dementia. So get into a support group. It's different to talk to your friends about this disease if they're not walking in your shoes. They can listen to you and hear about it, but they don't know really what it means to be a caregiver of someone with dementia. So being amongst people who can relate to what you're dealing with is so valuable. Like I said, I've been running my group for a long time. Many of my caregivers whose loved ones have already passed on, they still come to the group because they got so much support from it, and they really just enjoy being a part of, a story that so many people are dealing with. Yes.
Your group, it's good to know that you have those, 3 different sections of the caregivers. Do you know most Alzheimer support groups have the 3?
They don't. And I have to be honest, the reason why I had to do that was because the group had become so large that people were coming and they didn't get a chance to talk because there were too many people in the group. So like I said, I've been running it for 25 years. I think it may have been in the last 10 that I've had to split it up because it was just too large. And even now, what's good about the second meeting where there's a specific topic is usually either I'm speaking on a topic or I've invited a guest speaker. that's the largest group, but mainly they're there listening and getting education. So it's usually about 16 to 20 people who come to that group. The other two are open discussions, and that's where people are able to just share, get information, get support, cry if they need to, get ideas on how to, do things differently. That's a much smaller group, which is nice, so because everybody is able to check in and be able to speak. Yeah, and I know we'll have more questions for the panel if you like. So we're talking about the 3 E's again. Where was I? So education leads to empowerment. And once you're educated, you'll be able to empower yourself through actions. It will empower you to ask for help. How many of you have trouble asking for help? How many of you have asked for help and nobody responded? Sometimes that's what makes us not want to ask for help, because we don't want to hear no response. Okay. But accepting help with even just things like grocery shopping, running errands, doing the laundry, cooking, or just having somebody sit with your loved one, that will help you as a caregiver. And it will empower you to learn how to manage your stress. So we saw with that caregiver burnout questionnaire, many people are really stressed. Actually, you may not have it, but there's also a packet that was left, or a sheet of paper that was left, called relaxation techniques. I want to take 2 minutes to do a little relaxation techniques. And I have to say, I used to hate when I would be at seminars and people would ask us to do these little projects, but this is really important, because as much as I'm telling you to take care of yourself, you might leave out this door and do nothing at all. So I'm going to get my 2 minutes out of you if I have to. So there's going to be a 2-minute relaxation technique exercise. You can close your eyes if you want, but you don't have to. So you're going to switch your thoughts. I'm going to lower my voice. Switch your thoughts to yourself and your breathing. Take a few deep breaths, exhaling slowly. So you're focusing on your breathing. And I know that if you've never done this before, it's really challenging, so I'm going to not talk too much. Mentally scan your body. Notice areas that feel tense or cramped. Quickly loosen up these areas. If you have to shake around or dance and stand up, do that. Let go of as much tension as you can. Rotate your head in a smooth, circular motion once or twice. If it causes you pain, don't do it. Roll your shoulders forward and backward several times. Let all of your muscles completely relax. And recall a pleasant thought for a few seconds. Take another deep breath and exhale slowly. The paper says you should feel relaxed. But I know that after many, many years of caregiving, that may not happen right away. But keep trying these exercises. How many of you felt a little tension released? Okay. Keep those practices. So that only took a minute or two. We as caregivers think we don't have time to do any of this. 2 minutes makes a big difference. Okay. And with education and empowerment, there is energy. So the definition of energy means the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity. It's the basis for life. We need energy to do anything and everything. It's what allows us to have a quality of life where we can handle anything that is thrown at us. I mean, sometimes we feel like if one more thing happens, I'm just going to jump off the bridge. There's a lot of people I could tell that have had that experience. And we need energy, like I said, to stay in the race. We need energy to get up every morning. How many people have felt like, I just can't get up, I don't want to get up? But you have to, because somebody's depending on you, right? And all these activities promote better sleep, reduces tension and depression, and increases your energy and alertness. I know many of you who are dealing with caregiving, you're so stressed that you're distracted. I mean, I know I'm not a caregiver, but just the stress of life. Just the other day, I was so distracted that I passed the exit where I was supposed to pick up my daughter. And I thought, I have to slow down. Like, this is crazy. But it really can cause some detrimental activities because I could have panicked and tried to get off immediately and ran into someone else. So you really have to be focused on the things that you need to do, and taking care of yourself allows you to have that alertness. Can anyone share, and I can pass the mic, how you energize yourself? Or anybody who really has some great self-practices that they want to share? Yes.
I have a positive affirmations tape, and I listen to it at least twice a day.
Yes.
My mom has passed now, but mine was to walk and to have a nice drink before I go to bed.
That's one, right? Okay, that's one. Right. Anybody else? Yes. Do that.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then after I leave there, I go down to the waterfront, and then I walk down there with a friend also for an hour.
Awesome. Okay, good. Yes. See, I'm getting my exercise today.
I care for my 97-year-old mother, and during the day, and another sister takes care of her at night. And for me, before I go to her house, I meditate. And I took a meditation class at Kaiser, and it was John's, and just changed my life. Made all the difference. I meditate for about 45 minutes every morning.
That is amazing.
Good morning. I practice Qigong, and I do that at least 3 times a week. So I've been a practitioner of that.
Yeah, I do 2 things. I read and I ride my bicycle, and that gives me a good meditation. The garden.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
I have a very simple plan. I count. I just count and keep counting. The higher I get, the more relaxed I get.
Something very simple. You don't have to go to a gym or walk outside if it's raining. Counting helps. So, laughter. Yes. Yes. So some of these things may not work for everybody. I'm really jealous of you. I actually went to a meditation class and I fell asleep. I did it totally wrong, but I realized, okay, that doesn't work for me, so let me try something else. So you have to figure out what works for you. Okay. So again, by incorporating those 3 E's, you'll have the ability to experience the joy in caring for your loved one. Yes. The third one is energy. Energy. So education, empowerment, and energy. And just know that it's not selfish to focus on your own needs. You have to do that. I mean, it's a part of the job. You know, most of us, all of us probably, we didn't sign up for this. There was no manual giving us to say, you're gonna be a caregiver in 5 or 10 or 15 years. Some of us don't wanna be doing this. And, even in families of 10, I often see all the caregiving responsibilities fall on one person. Sometimes people in the group say, oh, I wish I had siblings to help me. And somebody in the group says, no, you don't. I have siblings and they don't help, so. Yeah. Good. So learning and using these stress reduction techniques, actually, let me back up and just say, what I want you to do is just focus on learning these stress-reducing techniques, like all the things that we talked about, going to see your own doctor, learning these stress reductions, getting proper rest and nutrition. I probably could scan the room and poll how many people are really getting a full night's rest. Or you can say, oh, well, I had slept for 8 or 10 hours, but I'm still tired, because it's not real rest. Exercising regularly, taking time off without feeling guilty. Is there anybody who has ever felt not guilty before? Seeking support of others. And if you don't have anybody, seek some professional help. Now, I think sometimes in our community, it's frowned upon to see a therapist. I always encourage people, even who participate in my support group and others, seek professional help. It definitely is helpful in terms of helping you cope with different diseases, cope with caregiving and other issues going on in your life. And acknowledge your feelings and really work on changing your negative views of things. Sometimes we say, oh, I don't want to do this. But maybe changing that to say, you know what, there's another day that I have with my loved one, then I can take care of them and show them how much I love them. You're giving the gift of yourself that nobody else can. And just, even if you're angry about it or frustrated about it or sad about it, just know that they need you. And you're doing an absolutely great job, even when you don't feel like you are. You also have something called a Caregiver Bill of Rights. I won't ask you to read it, but as long as you have it, I'll just... And you can also dance when you're feeling stressed. Thank you for that. You're right on cue there. So the Caregiver Bill of Rights, I won't read it all, you have it, but I'll just read a couple. It says, I have the right to take care of myself. This is not an act of selfishness. It will enable me to better care for my loved one. I have the right to seek help from others, even though my loved one may object. I recognize the limits of my own endurance and strength. I have the right to get angry, be depressed, and express other difficult emotions occasionally. I have the right to reject any attempt by my loved one, either conscious or unconscious, to manipulate me through guilt, anger, or depression. I have the right to receive consideration, affection, forgiveness, and acceptance from my loved one, for as long as I offer these qualities in return. I have the right to take pride in what I am accomplishing and to applaud the courage it sometimes takes to meet the needs of my loved one. I have the right to protect my individuality and my right to make a life for myself that will sustain me when my loved one no longer needs my full-time help. I have the right to expect and demand that as new strides are made in finding resources to aid physically and mentally impaired persons in our country, similar strides will be made toward aiding and supporting caregivers. And I think that's what the Alzheimer's Association does, is their goal is not only to end this disease, but it's to support you as caregivers, because you all need support. I'm glad that there's a little time. I'll give you, I want to share with you, has anybody ever heard of Carol Mulligan? Or Mulligan, actually. She wrote something called A Love Letter to Caregivers. Many of the people in my group, they always say, I wish I knew what my loved one was thinking, or I wish I knew what my loved one was feeling. And so Carolyn Mulligan, she actually was the vice president of an agency called the Dementia Advocacy and Support Network International. And she was diagnosed at an early age with Alzheimer's. And in her early stage, she wrote this letter that I want to just share with you. She She writes, "Those living with dementia have experiences much like Dorothy's in The Wizard of Oz. You remember Dorothy? A tornado came in Kansas and scattered everything at Auntie Em's farm. It blew poor Dorothy and her dog Toto all the way to Oz. In Oz, everything was different. Witches and munchkins lived there. Flowers glittered in strange ways. The apple tree griped when Dorothy tried to pick an apple. Finally, the bewildered Dorothy lamented to Toto, 'We're not in Kansas anymore.' As she struggled to understand her much-changed world, Dorothy became desperately homesick for the familiar old Kansas farm and her familiar, loving Auntie Em. She missed them so. Dorothy's only goal became to find her way home. Dementia is like that. Those of us who have dementia are different. The world is different. People treat us differently. We feel scared and very much alone. Whatever frustrations our former lives held, at least they were familiar. Like Dorothy, we desperately want to go home. At home, we knew our way. At home, we held valuable jobs. At home, we had friends. At home, we were parts of loving families. We want to go home, but how can we get there? As Dorothy did, we seek a well-marked road, like the yellow brick road. And then maybe that's why we wander. We wander and rummage and hoard whatever we find that reminds us in the least of home. We can't find the yellow brick road, and we can't find the magic ruby slippers to follow it. Dorothy discovered during her adventures in Oz that she had always had within herself the brains, the heart, and the courage to get home. We don't. In fact, if you could only see how shrunken and shriveled our brains have become and how much we despair, you would be very proud of us for having the courage to carry on at all. We know we will not get better, but we do carry on, and mostly because of you. As our loving family caregivers, you are our scarecrow, our tin man, and our lion. You lead us along the way. More than that, you are our yellow brick road. You are our ruby slippers, and you are the wizard who leads us so very close to home. We are aware of how much your world has changed as well. We are aware of the pain we have caused you. We know you miss us as we were, and we would be different for you if only we could. We would give you back your life, your partner, your lover, and your farm. We would set you free and give you all of Kansas, and we would work for the rest of our lives to fulfill your every dream. We will thank you eternally for your care and self-sacrifice. We love you as always and more." I thought that was just a great letter for somebody with this disease to be able to share it to all of you. They are so appreciative of everything that you do. But my goal is for you all to take care of yourselves so that you can keep continuing to do what you do. And I thank you. I saw a hand, yes.
What's the title?
I'm sorry.
What's the title of that?
The title is called A Love Letter to Caregivers by Carol Mulliken. And Mulliken is Mulliken.
Was that letter based off, there's a movie with Julianne Moore, I think.
Is that still Alice? Okay.
Is that?
It's not from that, but yeah, I did know what you're referring to. So I know we're going to have a panel discussion where questions are, okay.